Well, good evening and welcome to a very special edition of Honest at Sports Talk. Joining me is the president of the Bermuda Cricket Board, Mr. Lloyd Smith, and the America's Regional Manager, Fara Gorsi. Is that correct? Or Gorsi?
Close, sir. Gorsi.
Okay,
Gorsi.
All right. Well, first of all, both of you, welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with me following your meetings with the presidents of the clubs this evening. Farah, can you give us some insight as to what messages you had for the presidents of our local clubs?
So first of all, thank you for inviting me back on your show again, Earl. I'm sure we met last year as well.
Yes.
It was, as always, a pleasure to speak to Bermuda Cricket Board and their presidents. Key messages were around the growth and Bermuda Cricket Board being in our Tier 1 for the Americas region and our expectations of what we expect for Bermuda Cricket Board, our support, and also the unity which is clearly very important on an island of Bermuda with their clubs and Bermuda Cricket Board. I thoroughly enjoyed the meeting. I believe the messages were well received, and hopefully that will transpire into 2021 when we see some exponential growth within Bermuda cricket.
Yeah, Lloyd, you kind of on island know the tone in which some of our clubs express themselves and receive messages. What did you think of the presentation and how they received what Farah was administering this evening?
I think it was a good reception. We had a very good turnout from the clubs. They also expressed their opinions on how they felt that Bermuda can grow as well, which is a plus. You know what I mean? So I think the information that Farah provided to our presidents and our club leaders was received very well.
Yeah. Farah, what direction from the America standpoint are we going in cricket?
Well, there is, I guess, ICC, so it filters from the top. We are going in a direction of participation and growth, which has always been our main aim, is to grow the game. We're looking at high performance, international competitiveness with Bermuda cricket, and also fan engagement. We also believe that the cup match that is held on Bermuda could be exploited to gain more fans, to recruit more participants within the game. And in terms of Bermuda cricket, now listening to the presidents tonight, which I think is very, very important and key for Bermuda Cricket Board when they come to their planning, are key areas around high performance, youth development and infrastructure. So in that direction, both ICC Americas and Bermuda Cricket are in alignment.
Yeah, we know coming from an island such as ours, we have a rich history of cricket, but now the numbers are not always there because there's so many other distractions and other things going on that some kids just are not interested in it. How do we as globally, how do we change that? Because we have to make the game a little more interesting, and well, not just the game, but things around the game more interesting to capture those young imaginations to keep them in the game.
Absolutely agreed, Earl. And to your delight, we have been discussing just that around modified version, around the results we've seen data-wise globally, that the organised version seems to be taking a little backseat, and the more modified version seems to be the interesting and the more fun first experience. Us as ICC Americas are trying to create the first fun experience. So at entry level point, what can we give our participant to come back and Bermuda cricket to be able to sustain their participation? So that has been through the modified format, being able to break down the barriers around you need an X amount of grounds, X amount of washrooms, etc. The formality around the game as well has to take a different mindset and move with the tides as well. So that is something that we have discussed, I think, quite interestingly tonight, to be able to provoke the different mindset of the younger generation as well.
One of the bigger problems that we also encounter is financing. As we all know, COVID has done a major damage to the world's finances. And in order to grow things and keep things going, it's going to need some sort of funds injected. How does the ICC plan to be able to make sure that there's enough to go around for everyone?
In all honesty, we will only, and I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of my CEO, but I believe, as you've said, quite honestly, it's affected the whole world. We'll know from ours, some of the larger events that were due to take this place. We will feel the back end of the pandemic further down the line. So we are looking at ways of being able to be sustainable and give our members what we have promised them in the scorecard as well. Again, it's still quite early days to say what detrimental effect the pandemic has done to the world and sport specifically as well. So the $1 million question, Earl, that everyone wants to know. Unfortunately, I don't have the answers, but only to provide some guidance that ICC Americas will be there to provide support, services in however best we can tackle this, and it's not detrimental to our member.
Yeah. Lloyd, question regarding West Indies cricket and assisting the Americas. We've seen around other regions where the full member kind of allows countries to play in their tournaments, or even mixed teams play in their tournaments. Have we had any discussions with the West Indies of probably having an Americas team in either their 50 over or 20 over matches?
Yeah, I think Fara could elaborate on that more, because we do have in the Americas region, we do have permission for, I think it's the top 2 regional teams of the Americas to play in the West Indies competitions. So that's in place right now, if I'm correct, Fara.
Yes, we do have a great partnership. ICC Americas and Cricket West Indies is our full member. We see them as our big brother. So we do have a great relationship in all seriousness with what's gone on, and probably been a lot detrimental to Cricket West Indies in terms of the events and the tournaments that they were going to put on this year. We haven't yet discussed that, and that's only due to our own planning, our own regional planning, and Cricket West Indies. But it is up for in the next few weeks, up for discussion as well in terms of looking at 2021 and beyond.
Yeah. So that'll be the top 2 teams at the end of whatever year it is that will be invited to partake.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But for years going by, we know that the USA, Canada, they're the stronger 2 in the region, with Bermuda fluctuating up and down. How does the lower end actually get better if only the top end is being rewarded?
Earl, is that for myself or is that for Lloyd?
For you, Farah, sorry.
I was trying to dodge that one, but
sorry about that.
No, absolutely. So I guess, again, we can only look, for me, and this is where I see it, is we have to look in our own backyard to see how well we can do. The opportunities will come in terms of your talent, in terms of your success, but you have to have that solidarity. And as you've rightly pointed, Bermuda has fluctuated up and down throughout the years. They've gone to the top, they've also gone to the bottom. So I think it's keeping that sustainable high performance program that not only excels the player, but for years to come, they remain at a level where they can consistently get better, opposed to have these peaks and troughs as such. So I think for me, it would be to look at their domestic structure and be able to, and this is in no shape or form of criticism, but to look at your own domestic structure and start increasing your high performance levels, your programs that you put in place, and then be able to create those opportunities. But that doesn't also stop you from having bilateral with other countries to have that level of competition. It doesn't always have to be USA and Canada at the top and then we go to Cricket West Indies. Those options and those discussions that Lloyd and I have discussed is that we can make them opportunities available to Bermuda Cricket as well.
Yeah. Lloyd, speaking with the clubs, our season recently concluded, and obviously they got their meeting with Fara earlier this evening. But how are the clubs planning to move forward from 2021? Because obviously the 2020 this year, There were a lot of changes, a lot of things happened in order for you to pull it off. But what's next?
Well, Merrill is basically cricket committees. I know they got their meeting coming up to decide how we're going to look for 2021. Is hopefully we can move on and get back to playing some 50 over and some cricket next season and start to give these guys a longer format. I know it's not as entertainment, it's not as entertaining as the T20, but these guys need to play some longer format as well to stay competitive in our region. So hopefully, with the with how we're handling cricket in Bermuda, that we'll be able to do that hopefully in 2021. But like I said, I can't commit to exactly what we're going to look like until we actually see how we're going to look like and what government's going to allow us to do in 2021.
Farah, we know international cricket was postponed for our region. We had qualifiers to play. We also had World League matches to play. What has been the talk around the Americas region just to have those qualifiers back at some point in time?
Yeah, I think globally, it's been a discussion globally with all the teams that are involved. What I can say is only recently having a meeting with World Rugby that our members have taken well to our changes and what we've now looked at further down the line in 2021. There doesn't seem to be, with the pandemic, as you can appreciate, some countries such as South America, Brazil, Argentina, Peru are still on lockdown. So, and I know they, for them, if they were to miss out on a regional qualifier, it wouldn't seem fair. So I think the discussion has been of a more understanding and coming from an angle of it's something that's unprecedented, something that they cannot control and ICC can't control. As much as we'd love to, put the pandemic to a stop and resume the game. And we are just as eager, let me just reiterate, we are just as eager to have these events and qualifiers. Unfortunately, we have understanding members that have just worked with us in this case and looked at the qualifiers further down the line in 2021.
Yeah, we see when it comes to major festivals such as the Olympics, Commonwealth Games, Pan American Games, and so forth. There's been plenty of talk about cricket joining into these events, and obviously it would have to be a shorter version of the game. But around the table, I know the ICC has discussed a little bit about a T10. Where are we with discussing that for those festivals?
In all honesty, Earl, I haven't been privy to those discussions on T10. What I can say is from a regional perspective that what I am looking to do is involve all my region in the Pan Am Games. So that's also an arm to the Olympic Games as well. That is what we're currently still working on. So members are becoming part of their National Olympic Committee, giving us as a region some backbone and strengths to be able to participate and then look at the Olympics and T10 formats. I haven't been involved in those discussions and I wouldn't want to say anything otherwise. Right,
fine, fair enough. Lloyd, you just heard Farah talk about becoming a member of the Bermuda Olympic Association in order to get into those Pan Am Games. Have those discussions started, or are we going to move into kind of full drive to try and get into that? Because it's another way to represent the country in a festival of sorts.
Yes, Bermuda Cricket Board is a member of Bermuda Olympic Association, and we've been a member for a few years now. So that wasn't an issue for our association having to be a part of the Olympic Association because we already were. So on our perspective, we are one of the early nations that actually came on with Fara to push for us trying to get into the Pan Am Games.
Yes, and absolutely correct. Just on the back end of that as well, we need 20 countries to be able to have a National Olympic Committee membership. Bermuda were one of the first, so there's nothing to worry on that side. But seems to be a half of my other members, if not more, that still need to be part of the National Olympic Committee Association as well.
Right. I was just going to ask, what numbers do we need regarding moving that forward? Because I know there's a limit of least amount that you need in order to have the sport even have interest in being in the Pan American Games.
Yes, there's a minimum of 20 at least, and we've only got 13 at the moment. And that's also working with Cricket West Indies, because we've also included them as part of the Americas. Right. So there's a push, and certainly from my side, to make sure, and it's another meeting, that another agenda point for Cricket West Indies when we discuss of how far we are with the National Olympic Committee status. Definitely for something that I'd like to achieve in our region is to have that first opportunity within the Pan Am Games, however format version that we do eventually look at.
Right. Now, Farah, you generally the presentations are done with the board members, but tonight you had the opportunity to speak to our presidents of clubs. Something a little different. I know when you were on the island, you actually met with some of the presidents before, but having the discussion kind of opens it up for a wide range of topics. Are you able to discuss any other topics?
In all honesty, Earl, we had, I think, for the first time, I've been able to speak to members and the club presidents and secretaries. It's refreshing to hear the people on the ground of what their views and what they perceive as their key focus areas, opposed to what ICC, what Bermuda Cricket want. So I think, if anything, it was a real enjoyable, interesting discussion. And as I always find with a lot of Bermuda and the presidents that I've interacted with on the island, that there is a genuine passion and love for the game. There really is. And it's also to help them understand is sometimes to have these one-on-one where they do have the opportunity to speak to ICC. So for me, I think it's great to hear from them, but also I hope they take the key messages and support Lloyd and Cal, because another point that I did make to the presidents were not every member board allows this opportunity, because you can imagine that, it's our ICC have told us and we will be the ones who tell you. In this case, the transparency levels are high. There should be some trust amongst the members with the president and with the CEO, because I think they are only portraying the key messages of what I keep drilling into them as well. So I think a perfect opportunity for the presidents to hear from us.
When we look about the global side, and we've seen some international cricket return, what has been the talk around the table as far as the governing bodies of the sports in our region in looking to emulate what we saw with England and the West Indies, what we'll see with New Zealand, what we're seeing with CPL, and what we saw down in Trinidad?
Yeah, well, in our region, something that I did highlight, Bermuda Cricket Board were the first to come back with a plan of returning to safe cricket. So I did share that with our global development team. So this would help 4 other regions globally. Listen, this is what we've done over in our region. So fantastically, and not only that, proactively, Bermuda have carried the discussions online as well and created forums. So I think in terms of learning from other countries, whether it be a CPL or whether it be West Indies and England, I think our own associate members, such as Bermuda Cricket, helps their document went a long way with the other members who don't have privy to be able to, utilize an England West Indies document as well. So I think in terms of proactiveness and keeping the game alive on the island, I think it was a fabulous initiative by Bermuda Cricket Board, and to be able to give their participants, something to go with. Life does resume after the pandemic, so cricket's one way. So they have been. I've utilised Cal's document from Bermuda Cricket Board to utilise it around the region as well. So it's been well received.
Lloyd, earlier this year, you guys had the agreement signed with Antigua. And I know they were pushing to have a tournament in December, but it doesn't look as if that will come off. What's the latest with that one?
Well, as you said, we kind of like speak pretty much at least once a week in reference of what's going on. Mr. Springer from the West from Antigua is trying to do his best to try to get some normality back to Antigua when it comes to cricket. Right now, they're not looking to be playing any cricket into 2021. They're still having issues with people coming into the island with quarantines and stuff like that. So we're pretty much, we're just here doing the paperwork side, the administrative side, saying what we can do, and hopefully, as soon as the doors open up, as soon as they have the opportunity to actually play cricket, or people are able to travel back and forth, then we can be able to put some things in place. But right now, with the COVID-19, it's been pretty hard on the Leeward Islands, with even trying to get any type of cricket back played. Antigua has been, to be honest, they used our document, as Fara said, to help to present to the Antiguan government, which was highly received. But the problem is they just right now are still struggling with COVID-19.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you both for sharing some of what the club presidents were enlightened with earlier this evening for Bermuda Cricket, and hopefully we can move forward and get a 2021 season and get the international season back on track, because we have to have some incentive for our players, not just to play domestically, not just to play county and cup match, but it's also to represent the country at the highest level and possibly even further. So, Fara, thank you very much. I know you're a very busy lady, and
thank you, Earl. Hopefully I can see
you.
Yeah, lovely to see you too, and always a pleasure. Hopefully we'll chat when I'm in Bermuda next. All being well.
Look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do have a good night.
Welcome. Yes, you too.